Hello everybody, Dieter back again another video. Alright guys, it is time for the fourth Grand Slam tournament of the year. It is time for the last Grand Slam tournament of the year in this 2024 season, and the Grand Slam tournament that I'm talking about is of course US Open, who is just around the corner. And it is like usual, when it is Grand Slam time, baby, I do a preview video. I do my top 8 favorite list. You who have seen my videos in the past, you know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna mention my top 8 favorite players, whom I believe that one of these 8 players will win the US Open. And the players I have on my number 1 spot, 2nd spot, and the 3rd spot is the players I believe the most in. But of course the 4th player can also win it, and the 5th player also can win it. But obviously my top 3 favorites are the players I believe the most in. So guys, without any further ado, let's get into this top 8 favorite list. On my 8th spot, I have a player who has had a pretty decent year, and who is a former US Open quarter finalist. And I believe that he has pretty good chances to go to the quarterfinal. The player I'm talking about is de Minaur, who actually was in the quarterfinal at Wimbledon, but he was forced to withdraw due to injury. So he did a pretty good Wimbledon, to say the least. I believe he can make a deep run here at US Open. He can make some noise. I like his draw. He has Giron in the first round, then a qualifier. Then he can face potential Khachanov in the 3rd round if Khachanov can win 2 matches. And then of course in the 4th round, de Minaur can face Hurkacz. You never know, maybe Hurkacz defeats de Minaur in that 4th round battle, if Hurkacz makes it to that 4th round to begin with. But I have a feeling that de Minaur can make some noise here and can do a deep run here. He's a player that he's not easy hitting through. He's a speed demon. He is good from the baseline. He doesn't have the greatest serve, but he has pretty decent returns, has good hands, so he's pretty consistent from the baseline. So I believe that he can make some damage here at US Open. I have him on my 8th spot. Alright guys, we go to the 7th spot. Who do I have on the 7th spot? On the 7th spot, I have a former US Open semi-finalist from 2019, if I'm not mistaken. He has played the semi-final here in the past once, which was in 2019. And the player I'm talking about, by the way, when he went to that semi-final in 2019, he defeated Roger Federer in the quarterfinal in 5 sets. If I'm not mistaken, if not my memory is letting me down, but I believe I'm correct about that. Anyway, on my 7th spot, I have Grigor Dimitrov. Grigor Dimitrov, who has had a pretty solid last 10 months of his season, of his tennis career. So he is dangerous. We all know that he can make some noise here at US Open. He has the baby Federer, like people used to call him. They don't call him baby Federer so much anymore, but he is a player that I like his draw. He has a qualifier in the 1st round. He has Fokina, most likely the 2nd round. Yeah, Fokina is always dangerous. Of course, Fokina can knock out Dimitrov. I would not be shocked at all if he does that, but I have Dimitrov as my slight favorite against Fokina. And then the highest seed player he can face is Baez. Baez's best surface is not hardcourt, it is clay. And then of course Dimitrov can face Rublev, the quarterfinal specialist, who has never been past the quarterfinals in the majors. Of course, Rublev can defeat Dimitrov in the potential 4th round, but I have Dimitrov as my slight favorite in a potential 4th round match between those two. Dimitrov has, after all, been to a semi-final in majors, to several semi-finals in majors, uh, to 3 semi-finals in majors, if I'm not mistaken. He has been a semi-final at Australian Open, 2017, if I'm not mistaken, Dimitrov. He has been in the semi-final in Wimbledon, 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Both of those 2 semi-finals he actually lost against 2 of the greatest tennis players of all time, which of course is Djokovic and Nadal. He lost against Nadal at the Australian Open 2017 semi-final, and he lost against Djokovic in 2014 Wimbledon, Dimitrov. And the US Open, like I said, he has been in a semi-final back in 2019, where he lost that semi-final, if I'm not mistaken, against Medvedev. So Dimitrov has at least been in 3 semi-finals at majors, something that Rublev has never done in his career. He has never been past quarterfinals. So anyway, I have Dimitrov in the 7th place. Let's see if Dimitrov proves me right or proves me wrong. But you never know, Rublev can go to a quarterfinal. I'm not super confident in Dimitrov, absolutely not. Anyway, I have Dimitrov on my 7th place. On my 6th place, I have a former US Open quarterfinalist. Actually, it wasn't a quarterfinal last year, if I'm not mistaken. A quarterfinal which he lost against Novak Djokovic. Fritz. And the player I'm talking about is Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz, I have him on 6th place. Fritz is always dangerous. He has huge strokes, both forehand and backhand, huge serve. He's not the greatest mover. He's not a speed demon, but he hits the ball pretty big. He was in the quarterfinal at Wimbledon earlier this year. Taylor Fritz, and he has several quarterfinals in majors, not once, but he has several. So I believe he can make it to a quarterfinal here at US Open as well, which he did last year where he lost against Djokovic. I like his draw. He doesn't have no, I don't like his draw when it comes to the second round. We'll come to that soon. He has the first round Ugo, a player I've never heard about. In the second round, potential second round, he can face Berrettini, and that is a tricky match. That is a tricky match. Berrettini can definitely knock out Taylor Fritz in that second round. But I don't know, I have the feeling that Taylor Fritz will defeat Berrettini in that second round, because Berrettini has such a weak backhand, such a weak returns, so I think that Taylor Fritz will take advantage of that. He will penetrate the balls towards Berrettini's backhand, and he will get rewarded for that. So I have a feeling that Fritz will come through Berrettini in 4 sets in that second round. Maybe even 5, who knows. And then in the third, he can face Humbert. Humbert, we all know Humbert is a dangerous lefty with a slice serve, but Humbert's best surface is not hard court according to me, it is grass. And then in the 4th round, Taylor Fritz can face Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud is the highest seed on Fritz's path to the quarterfinal. I don't trust in Casper Ruud. I don't think Casper Ruud goes to the quarterfinal. Casper Ruud's best surface is clay. It is not hard court. Even though Casper Ruud is a former US Open finalist, he was in the final 2022 where he lost against Alcaraz in 4 sets. I just have a feeling that Fritz will make it through to the quarterfinal and not Casper. But you never know. This is tennis, and tennis you will likely be more wrong than you will be right. At least when it comes to these more unpredictable players like de Minaur, Dimitrov, Fritz. They are not very, very predictable. They are more or less very, very unpredictable. You never know what you will get from them. The tier 1 players, which I will come to later in the video, they are more predictable. You know what you will get from them. they deliver much more. They don't get knocked out early. But these three I mentioned, Diminaur at 8th spot, Dimitrov 7th spot, Fritz on 6th spot, they can get out in the first week. I would not be surprised whatsoever. Anyway, I have Fritz on my 6th place. Alright, now let's get to my 5th player, and the 5th player is the player I believe the most of the place in the quarterfinal, and that means that the player I have on my 5th spot is the player I believe the most out of my quarterfinal candidates, who I believe can win his quarterfinal match. I don't believe he will do it, obviously, because I don't have him on the top 4 favorites. I have him just down under on the 5th spot, but he's the highest from the quarterfinals candidates, and that means that if he wins his quarterfinal match, I just wouldn't, I will not be surprised at all, and that's why I have him as high as my fifth spot. Maybe some of you will get surprised here, but I don't know, I have him here at least. I have a feeling that he, of course, he can win his quarterfinal match. Don't get me wrong, my tennis friends all around the world, but I just have the feeling that he will most likely lose that quarterfinal match. But let's see. On the 5th spot, I have Jannik Sinner. My tennis friends all around the world. Yeah, the player who has won the most tournaments so far in the year, which is 5. He has won 5 tournaments so far. Nobody has won more tournaments than him. I don't have him higher than this. He is still high, according to me. It's not like he's on my top 5 list, so he's not under my top 5 list, but he's not on my top 3 list. The reason to that is he has a pretty good draw. He doesn't have any brutal draw. He has some Americans in the first couple of rounds, McDonald in the first round, Mikkelsen in the second round. Then he can face potential Jerry in the 3rd round. Then he can face Tommy Paul, potential in the 4th round. So his draw is not scaring me whatsoever. So I think he will come through his matches pretty comfortable. I truly believe so. But I just have a feeling that his quarterfinal opponent will not be easy for him to take down, and I will come to later who that quarterfinal opponent will be. So I have Sinner on the 5th spot here, and another thing that why I don't have Sinner higher is that, look, for me, Jannik Sinner is not as good of a player in best of 5 matches like he is in a best of 3 matches. Period. That's it. He's much more dangerous in best of 3 matches. His 5-set record is 6-9 in best of 5 matches, and that means that when the matches go to the distance, he has lost more of those than he has won. He has lost 9 and he has won 6. Last time he lost a 5-set match was at the Wimbledon quarterfinal against Daniil Medvedev. So for me, just Jannik Sinner, I just don't. Yeah, he's the world number 1. He has won 1 major this year, but he lost a 5-set match against Alcaraz in the semi-final at French Open. That match went to the distance, and he lost that one. Then he lost a 5-set match against Daniil Medvedev at Wimbledon in the quarterfinal. That match went to the distance, and he lost that one. So his 5-set record is not the greatest. Like I said, he has won 6 and lost 9. So when it comes to best of 5-set matches, I just don't trust in Jannik Sinner. I just mentioned the matches that he has lost this year at majors, at French Open against Alcaraz in 5 sets, at Wimbledon against Medvedev in 5 sets. If we go back last year, he lost in the 4th round against Alexander Sasha Zverev at the US Open last year. That match also went to the distance, and he lost that one as well. You can see the pattern here. When the match goes to the 5th set, Jannik Sinner is losing those more than he is winning them. And he doesn't have the greatest cardio, the greatest physicality, according to me. He just somehow players seem to wear him down in that 5th set. He can go and win the bloody, the entire bloody thing. I will not be surprised whatsoever if he does that. Of course not. I just don't think he will do it. I just don't think the players that he needs to face in the quarterfinal, semi-final, and final, him to defeat all three of them, back to back. If he does that, kudos to him. I will applaud him. I will be bloody impressed, but I just don't think he will do it. That is my feeling. He is at least on my fifth place, but he can definitely win his quarterfinal match. He can definitely win his quarterfinal match. That's why he's as high as on my fifth place. He's my highest player of the quarterfinal candidates. All right, let's go to the semi-final candidates now, which are, of course, the fourth spot, third spot, and second and first. Second and first, of course, are the final candidates. All right, on the fourth spot, my fourth favorite here is at the US Open 2024. Of course, this is, of course, a player also has been very deep in US Open before. He is a former US Open finalist 4 years ago. You by now know who that player now is. He was 2 points away in actually winning that US Open final. And the player I'm talking about is, of course, Alexander Sasha Zverev. Yeah, he was in that US Open final 4 years ago against Dominic Thiem, where he was 2 sets to love up, but choked that match away. He was also serving for that final, for that title, if I'm not mistaken. In that fifth set, he was serving for that. Didn't serve it out, and then also he was 2 points away in winning that final as well. He came as close as 2 points away, but didn't convert. He never managed to cross that finish line. And also, he has been in semifinals before in US Open. One semifinal that I remember he was in back in 2021, when he lost against Novak Djokovic in 5 sets. So he obviously does pretty big damage at US Open, historically. So I think he will do pretty big damage this year as well. So that's why I have him as high as number 4. The first round he's facing a pretty tricky opponent in Ruusuvuori. Ruusuvuori is not an easy opponent to face. He really is a really good ball striker, very fast. Hits the ball pretty big, considerable baseline. So that Ruusuvuori will give Zverev a run for his money. And when does Zverev has the most problems in majors? It is early. Zverev tends to play pretty long 4-5 set matches early in majors. So I will not be surprised at all if Ruusuvuori takes Zverev to fourth or 5 sets. But in the end, I think Zverev will come through. Then he will face most likely Mullin in the second round. Then the first seated player he can face is Sorrentino in the third, and then in the fourth he can face Rune or Musetti. Who will he face in the fourth? It is more a toss-up. Who will face Rune or Musetti? Rune has not had a great year, to be honest, and Musetti has had a pretty good year. He has had some really good results the last 3 months, Musetti. So he can face one of them in the fourth round, Rune or Musetti. Who will he face there? I don't know, man. It can be either one. So I don't know. I have a feeling it will be Rune. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. I have a feeling it will be Rune that Zverev will face in the fourth round. So there you have. Zverev is my fourth favorite. So now let's go to my top 3 favorites. The players I believe the most in this US Open 2024. And usually almost always, the player who wins the Grand Slams comes from my top 3 favorites. It has been like this way 99% of the cases, and I don't think this year will be any different. I think it will be the same way this year as well. That is my feeling, that one of my top 3 favorites will win US Open 2024. All right, on my third place, And this is the player I believe will defeat the player on the 5th place. You will get my point, I believe. On my 3rd place, I have Medvedev. Yeah, Medvedev. US Open is his best Grand Slam tournament. Medvedev has played 6 Grand Slam finals, and 4 of them it has been at US Open. Yeah. No, 3 of them. Because Medvedev, US Open and Australian Open are Medvedev's best Grand Slams. Obviously, it is not the French Open, where he has never been past the quarterfinal, and it is not Wimbledon, where he has never been past the semifinal. So Medvedev has played 3 Australian Open finals, if I'm not mistaken, 2021, 2022, and 2024, Medvedev. So he has played 3 Australian Open finals, and Medvedev has played 3 US Open finals. But the difference is here that he has won one of those US Open finals out of 3 that he has played, which was back in 2021 when he crashed the party for Novak Djokovic, when Novak Djokovic was going for that calendar Grand Slam and defeated Novak Djokovic in that US Open final 2021 in 3 straight sets, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. And the other two US Open finals that Medvedev has lost has been against Rafael Nadal back in 2019 in 5 sets, and against Novak Djokovic last year, 2023, in straight sets. So Medvedev is a former US Open champion from 2021 and a 3-time US Open finalist in total. So obviously Medvedev does huge damage at US Open, and he also defeated Alcaraz in last year's semifinal in 4 sets, where Medvedev did a fabulous match and took out Alcaraz in 4 sets. So, and I like him. I'm liking his draw. He has Lajovic in the first round. Lajovic has been, I don't know where the dude has been, but he has been pretty weak the last 2 years, something like that, maybe even more. Marusan he can face in the 2nd round. He can face then Cobolli in the 3rd round, and then in the 4th he can face Tsitsipas or Felix. Tsitsipas, we all know, he has never been past the 3rd round at US Open. Who will Medvedev face in the 4th round? Toss up. Will Tsitsipas finally get through and win a 3rd round match at US Open for the first time? I don't know, man. I am doubtful about it. I'm not super high on Tsitsipas, to be quite honest with you, my tennis friends all over the world. Nevertheless, I believe that Medvedev comes through his draw and goes to that quarterfinal. And in that quarterfinal, I will speak later who he will face there. And then we have my top 2 favorites, the players that I believe will face each other in the final. This was not a very easy decision to make for me, who I will have second and who I will have first. It was not very easy, but in the end I decided to have the 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic as my second favorite at US Open 2024. The reason, I've said before, and I will stick to my guns. I can't have a 37 years old tennis player as my number 1 favorite to win a Grand Slam tournament. Even though that Djokovic is not a regular 37 years old of a player. He is the greatest tennis player of all time. He just won the Olympic gold medal a couple of weeks ago. So, of course, he can go and win the bloody thing. Of course, he's as high as my second player, as high as my second favorite at this US Open 2024. But I just feel that Djokovic, he has a great draw. He has qualified in the first round. He has Struff or Jerry in the 2nd round. Jerry, who took Djokovic to 5 sets in last year's US Open in the 3rd round, where Jerry actually had a 2 sets to lead up where Jerry was 2 sets to love up in the lead, but Djokovic came back and won that match in 5 sets. Then he can face Popper in the 3rd round. He can face Shelton in the 4th. Shelton, by the way, who will face Dominic Thiem in the 1st round, but I don't think Dominic Thiem defeats Shelton in the 1st round. So I'm liking Novak's draw. Novak has a really good draw. He avoided Sinner. Novak is avoiding Alcaraz. Sinner, of course, he will avoid because Sinner is the number one seed and Djokovic is number second seed. He avoided Alcaraz on his side of the draw, which has become the third straight Grand Slam tournament that he's doing that. He avoided Alcaraz in the French Open. Sinner got Alcaraz in that semi-final match, even though the Djokovic never made it to a semi-final. But you are getting my point. And he avoided Alcaraz in the semi-final, at Wimbledon as well, on his side. I'm talking about on his side because he didn't avoid Alcaraz. Ultimately, he faced Alcaraz in the final. But you're getting my point. Sinner and Alcaraz, they was on the same side of the draw at Wimbledon as well, like they were at French Open as well. And now for the third Grand Slam tournament in a row, Djokovic is avoiding Alcaraz. So Djokovic on his side of the draw. So Djokovic can face Alcaraz as late as in the final. He cannot face Alcaraz earlier than that. So I think Djokovic is very, very happy with that. Djokovic needs to... Bottom line is here that Djokovic doesn't need to beat both Alcaraz and Sinner to win US Open, which was exactly the case at French Open, Wimbledon, and now it is the case at US Open as well. And that is really, really good news for Djokovic because I really don't believe, I've said it before and I will say it again if you guys have forgot it, I really don't believe that Djokovic will ever defeat Sinner and Alcaraz back to back in a major. I really don't believe that he will never do it. He has never done it. He has defeated one of them and has gone to win a Grand Slam title. He defeated Sinner in 2022 quarterfinal and then went on to win the Wimbledon that year in 2022 and then won Wimbledon that year when he defeated Sinner in the quarterfinal. And then he did this 1 year later in French Open. He defeated Alcaraz in the semi-final and then went on to win the French Open title. But he has never defeated both of them and to win a Grand Slam title. But he has done it outside the slams, which he did at the ATP2 finals last year, where he defeated Alcaraz in the semi-final and then he defeated Sinner in the final. But I'm talking about the Grand Slams. And I don't think that Djokovic will ever defeat both of them in a Grand Slam and to win the title. I don't think. But he can definitely defeat one of them, which he has done it in the past. So Djokovic, he is very, very pleased with his draw. So I have him on second place. On my first place, I have Alcaraz. Alcaraz is my number one favorite here to win the US Open 2024. He has won 2 Grand Slam titles this year, French Open and Wimbledon. He was in the final at in the Olympic Games, which he lost against Djokovic there. Alcaraz has qualified in the first round. He has Shapovalov in the second round. He has Draper most likely in the third round, and he has Korda most likely in the fourth round. So Alcaraz has a pretty good draw. Alcaraz's draw is not scaring me whatsoever. So the quarterfinal matches are between Alcaraz and de Minaur. I believe Alcaraz defeats de Minaur in the quarterfinal. Then we have Medvedev and Sinner. I believe Medvedev defeats Sinner in that quarterfinal, exactly like he did at Wimbledon a couple of months ago. Or last month, to say the least, to be quite precise. If Medvedev could defeat Sinner at Wimbledon, which I don't believe that grass is Medvedev's best surface, I definitely believe Medvedev can defeat Sinner on hard courts, which I believe hard courts are Medvedev's best surface. So I believe Medvedev will defeat Sinner. It will not be easy, maybe 4 or 5 sets, but I think in the end Medvedev defeats Sinner. That is my feeling. Maybe I will be wrong. And then the third quarterfinal will be between Zverev and Fritz. I believe Zverev defeats Fritz in that quarterfinal. And then the fourth quarterfinal will be between Djokovic and Dimitrov. I believe Djokovic will defeat Dimitrov in that fourth quarterfinal. The semifinals will be between Alcaraz and Medvedev. We know that Alcaraz completely owns Medvedev. He just almost beats him every time. Not literally every time, but almost he defeats Medvedev every time. Medvedev has tremendously difficulties against Alcaraz. Alcaraz is a horrible of a matchup for Medvedev. So I believe Alcaraz defeats Medvedev. And then in that first semifinal, and then the second semifinal between Djokovic and Zverev, I believe Djokovic defeats Zverev. And then the final, the US Open final 2024 will be between Djokovic and Alcaraz. Of course, Djokovic can defeat Alcaraz in that potential final. If we get this final, because it is still far away that we are getting that final. It is 7 matches away. They both of them need to win 7 matches each, total of 14 matches. I'm sorry, not 7 matches, 6 matches each. They are 6 matches away from facing each other, 12 matches away from facing each other, because Djokovic needs to win 6 matches and Alcaraz needs to win 6 matches. But if we get that final between these two, of course Djokovic can defeat Alcaraz. Of course. If he does that, the head-to-head is 4-3 to Djokovic. No, only one player has defeated Alcaraz as many times as Djokovic has done, and that is Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner and Djokovic is those 2 players who has defeated Alcaraz the most, which is 4 times each. But I have a feeling that on hard courts, Alcaraz is harder to defeat on faster surfaces than the case is on slower surfaces. And yeah, Djokovic defeated Alcaraz at that Olympic gold medal match a couple of weeks ago, and in straight set 7-6, 7-6. But it was on clay. I think that Alcaraz is more vulnerable on clay. He just is not as Alcaraz cannot. Djokovic has more time on clay. Alcaraz cannot hit through Djokovic as easy as he can hit through him on faster surface. Like we saw at Wimbledon, he was completely destroying Djokovic in that Wimbledon final. Yeah, we know Djokovic just came back from injury. He was not moving 100% great in that Wimbledon final. I agree about all that. I saw that Wimbledon final. But still, I think that in faster surfaces, Alcaraz is more of a threat to Djokovic than the case is on slower surfaces. And if you look, and then we have the best of 5 set match. If we look, they faced each other 3 times in best of 5 set matches. And the head-to-head is 2-1 to Alcaraz. Djokovic has defeated Alcaraz only once in best of 5 set matches, which was in that French Open semi-final last year. The other 2 matches that they have faced each other in best of 5 set matches have been at Wimbledon 2 times, 2022 Wimbledon final, 2023 Wimbledon final and 2024 Wimbledon final. Both of those 2 matches, Alcaraz has defeated Djokovic. And what is my feeling? What do I have to say about that? 1, the matches has been best of 5, which is, I believe, favor Alcaraz, especially Alcaraz being the younger player. 2, those Wimbledon finals has been on a faster surfaces. We all know the grass is not as slow as clay. US Open is playing on hard courts. Hard courts are faster surface than what clay is. So I think that for Djokovic to defeat Alcaraz will be much tougher for him to do in a potential US Open final. That is my feeling. Maybe I will be wrong. That's why I have Alcaraz as my number 1 favorite and not Djokovic as my number 1 favorite. But, of course, if they face each other in the final, you never know. And then another thing is that Alcaraz is a big-time, big-match player. He has played 4 Grand Slam finals. He has never lost 1. He has won all of them. Yeah, he will eventually lose Grand Slam finals. He will not go on and win Grand Slam finals forever. But, I don't know. I have just a feeling that if Djokovic and Alcaraz face each other in that US Open final, I will give my slightest edge to Alcaraz. Not huge, he will not be a huge favorite, but I believe that he will be slight favorite against Djokovic. But if Djokovic proves me wrong, I truly believe, listen to what I'm saying to you guys, I really will be really happy. I really want to see Djokovic win his 25th Grand Slam title. And to witness one human being, the first human being winning 25 Grand Slam titles in history. That has never been achieved before. Yeah, we know that Margaret Court has also won 24 Grand Slam titles, as many as Djokovic. We all know that Margaret Court's majority of her Grand Slam titles has been outside the professional era. So, but still, if Djokovic wins his 25th Grand Slam title, it would have been huge tennis history. Huge, huge. So I will be happy if Djokovic proves me wrong. I really will be happy. So my heart wants Djokovic to win that Wimbledon final. I will be honest with you guys, but my brain says that he will not be able to do that. Maybe I will be wrong. So I have Alcaraz defeating Djokovic in that US Open final. If we get that US Open final to begin with. Let's see if we get it. But I have a feeling that we will get it. So guys, there you have my 2024 US Open final preview, my top 8 favorite list. Some dark horses. Who can have Berrettini? He is a dark horse. Draper, he's a dark horse. I don't know. Those. Musetti also is dark horse. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and see you next time. Peace!